Messy cars are now a crime. So, at what point does clutter cross the line from personal inconvenience to a punishable offense? That question is no longer theoretical. In Hilton Head, South Carolina, where a new local ordinance allows authorities to fine drivers up to $500 or even impose jail time for trash inside their own vehicles. What initially sounds like an odd local regulation has sparked a much larger conversation about government authority, vague enforcement standards, and whether similar laws could soon appear in major U.S. cities already struggling with rat infestation. The ordinance, which went into effect February 1st, is intended to combat a growing rodent problem. In public documents, the town places vehicles under the same sanitation rules as buildings, classifying them as potential environments for rats if garbage is allowed to accumulate. The law appears under a section titled Conditions Affording Food or Harborage for Rats, hopefully not in your car, and it makes unlawful to permit trash or rubbish to build up in any building, vehicle, or surrounding area. It may provide food or shelter for the rodents. Violations carry steep penalties. A driver could face fines up to $500 as well as up to 30 days in jail, or both. Each day the violation continues can be counted as a separate offense, and the town reserves the right to pursue additional legal remedies to correct the issue. While officials frame the rule as public health measure, its scope and severity have raised eyebrows far beyond South Carolina. The concern is not simply about cleanliness. It's about how broadly the law is written and how much discretion it gives to enforcement officers. The ordinance does not define what qualifies as accumulated garbage and how much trash constitutes a violation, or how an officer is expected to determine whether a vehicle could realistically attract rats. A few empty coffee cups and food wrappers could look very different to different inspectors, leaving drivers unsure whether the legal line actually exists. That ambiguity raises a deeper question. How far does this go? If a local government can regulate the interior condition of a private vehicle in the name of pest control, could other cities follow the same path? Cities like New York and Los Angeles already struggle with well-documented rat problems. New York City alone has spent tens of millions of dollars annually in rodent mitigation, expanding trash container mandates, increasing sanitation enforcement, and creating entire task forces focused on reducing infestations. Los Angeles has similarly faced complaints about rodents tied to homelessness, open trash, and dense urban living. In those environments, the temptation to expand enforcement tools is real, and local governments under pressure to show results may look to ordinances like what we see in Hilton Head as a model, especially if the court upholds them. What begins as a narrowly justified public health regulation of private vehicles, particularly in cities where cars are frequently parked in public streets for extended periods of time. That possibility raises serious policy questions. Vehicles are private property, even when parked or driven on public spaces. While government routinely regulates safety equipment, emissions, and parking behavior, regulatory interior cleanliness moves into a far less settled legal territory. Once the precedent is established, that trash inside your car can constitute as a public nuisance. The boundary between public health enforcement and personal autonomy becomes harder to define. And supporters of such measures argue that extreme cases justify intervention. I love that word because you know that means regulation. And vehicles filled with food waste can attract rodents that spread to surrounding neighborhoods, much like unmanaged dumpsters or illegal dump sites. From that perspective, the ordinance is less about penalizing ordinary drivers and more about preventing genuine health hazards. Critics counter that the penalties are disproportionate and the standards are too subjective. The possibility of jail time for what many consider a quality of life issue elevates the matter from civil code enforcement to criminal punishment. Vague laws also increase a risk of inconsistent or selective enforcement, a concern that has surfaced repeatedly in cities with broadly written nuisance ordinances. There are also unresolved practical questions. Does enforcement require visible trash from outside the vehicle, or could inspectors go further? Does a car temporarily parked on a street face the same scrutiny as one that has been abandoned for weeks? The ordinance provides little guidance, leaving these decisions largely to enforcement discretion and potentially future court challenges. Hilton Head's ordinance may remain an isolated response to a localized problem, or it could mark the beginning of a wider trend as cities search for new tools to manage sanitation and pest control. If similar laws appear in major urban centers, the debate will likely intensify, pitting public health goals against concerns about privacy, due process, and government overreach. For now, drivers in Hilton Head are the test case. But for motorists elsewhere, particularly in cities already battling rat infestation, the large lesson is clear. Policies aimed at solving real problems can have unintended consequences, and once the line between public nuisance and private property shifts, it rarely moves back quietly. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our car review channel, Car Smarts. You can support me by buying me a cup of coffee, and if you want even more content, check out the links in the description. I'm Lauren Fix. Thank you so much for watching.